Hey, sports fans, it's world champion handicapper Mike North. Punch this number in your phone right now. If you're driving, pull over. 1-800-808-3419. 1-800-808-3419 for a free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country, VegasScoresAndOdds.com. It's the only site you'll ever need with expert handicappers like John Anthony, Denny Macklin, Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, yours truly, and many more. Check out the homepage of VegasScoresAndOdds.com for a tote board with your buddy. Follow Vegas Scores and Odds on Twitter and dial up 1-800-808-3419. It's 1-800-808-3419, 1-800-808-3419, or go to VegasScoresAndOdds.com.
What follows is for news and entertainment purposes only. Any use of the forthcoming information in violation of any federal, state, or local law is prohibited. Mike North, you are on fire.
You know anybody else that good?
No.
No, they'll tell you they are. They may think they are, but we're documented every single week. The eye is on us.
That's
and I ain't talking about the eye of CBS, the public eye. The first feeling I got when I won a bet was elation. The worst feeling was when I lost a bet and I wanted to jump off a balcony.
Give me a quick betting tip.
Yeah, do win and don't lose, but usually it doesn't always work out that way. How many times you heard this? I'm going to Vegas. I go, how'd you do? Well, if I lost $4,000, but you go there to have fun. No, you go there to win. And that's what's wrong with people. They have the negative mentality in anything they do, including sports, before they even lay the bet down. So you got to be positive. Vegas Scores and Odds is the landing place that gave me an opportunity to handicap. They let me show what I could do, and there's packages, there's free picks. What does Vegas Scores and Odds do when you perform? They reward you, and they take care of you, and that's why we're ready to do this show.
The Vegas Scores and Odds Advantage with Mike North starts right now. That's right. Vegas Scores and Odds Advantage with Mike North starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman. It is Monday, and so we have a lot of NFL talk ahead, including how about those Chicago Bears? Injury depleted, and yet they go ahead and annihilate the Minnesota Vikings with players whose names we haven't heard very frequently. Guys like Nick Williams and Nick Kwiatkowski. They get it done, and the Kansas City Chiefs get it done, and Detroit, although they suffered quite the scare, those Lions are playing better than expected. Other teams that surprised? The New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Carolina Panthers. We've got a lot to talk about, and of course we got Joe Maddon to talk about, the now former manager of the Chicago Cubs. Let's not waste any more time. Mike North, how are you, my friend?
Oh, well, though I've never felt better. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is a bonanza. Our last week's Monday show broke all records. The show right after the Bear game, and the same thing going on. It's going to happen again today, Mondays and Wednesdays. Let me tell you, Vegas Scores and Odds, they've been great. If you go there right now, and by the way, Aldo, I was wrong last week, and you were right. When I hit my Twitter handle at Vegas Scores and Odds, all I do is hit VE, and all of a sudden it goes there. But for the first time, you have to spell it out. What do people have to spell out, my friend?
At VSAO Sports, and that's the Twitter handle. I actually had somebody tell me, hey, when I put in VSAO, it sounds like the Twitter account goes to somebody with one follower. That's not the Vegas. And so I looked into it. I said, yeah, I think we got it wrong.
Yeah, that was my bad, because you know what, I've been tweeting them for so long. We're still up. We want to get close to 600. VSA at VSA Sports is the place to go. By the way, 3-0 on the show. Now I go from 4-5 to now 7-5. We had, if you remember last week, against the Mets under. We had Duke against Virginia Tech. They won outright. And last night, ladies and gentlemen, if you were chasing, if you were in trouble, why would you if you're taking my picks? If you took the Vegas Scores and Odds Bears Barroom Network New Orleans play, you won that outright. So 3-0 this weekend, 7-5 overall. Back on the beam again, my friend.
This is the place where you come to make some money, right? Just got to follow Mike North's lead. Plain and
I
simple.
don't understand it. I go, well, where are you going, pal? He goes, I'm going to Subway. It's my third job. I go, why don't you just pay for one of my picks? He goes, I don't know. I really like working 3-4 jobs. I don't have enough money right now to do anything else. I go, you don't have enough money working 3-4 jobs? Well, I'm dropping flies, but some people say that's a career. I don't know. I want you people listen, all I do is make money. That's all I do is make money. Sure, you're going to have your slumps. Sure, you're going to have your 0-3s. Sure, you're going to have your 1-2s. But Aldo and I, if you've been following this duo for 2 years,
Yep.
I mean, we started out 18-1-1 last year.
Yep.
And then you just won 3 in a row. How many people in New Orleans last night? Not many, folks.
Isn't that unbelievable?
All right?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
It sounded like I was scolding people.
You're giving them a good talking to, is what I would say.
You like driving a cab for your second job and eating at some diner at 2 in the morning with some guy staring at you from across the room?
Merv,
come on.
Merv in the chat room says he loves you and that you are brilliant.
Thank you, Merv. Well, you know what? I mean, you got to zig when you got to zag. You got to do what you got to do. But once I made it an art, it's funny to me. People will put hundreds of thousands of dollars, Aldo, into financial advisors who can't find their keys in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
And when the big economic recession hit, guess how many of these financial advisors knew about it, that it was coming? How many people were warned? Not many.
Not many.
With me, no fuss, no muss.
There you go. There you go. All right, let's turn our attention to the Chicago Bears, a winner yesterday at Soldier Field, 16-6, and what was one of the most, for a Bears fans, one of the most gratifying wins, but also a bit strange with the injuries to starters, with the missing Roquan Smith, excused for personal reasons, the early game injury to Mitch Trubisky. Mike, where was your confidence level when Trubisky left the game with the shoulder injury that looks fairly serious?
I said we don't drop anything. In fact, we may be better. In fact, when Trubisky went out and Chase Daniel came in, I was fine. I had said this. I had painted the scenario on previous shows.
Yep.
Whether it was on the Odds Couple, on AM 1000 with Carmen, or with Aldo. On all the shows we've done. We've done like 70-some shows. Maybe 80.
Yeah, 82.
But I painted the picture. In fact, we talked about this. I said, when you have to go to your second-string quarterback, and there's not much of a difference, that's not good. In other words, if Brady gets hurt, there's a big drop. Remember, everybody, I told everybody this, when Breeze gets hurt, there's a big drop. When Roethlisberger gets hurt, there's a big drop. So you got to do what you got to do. When Trubisky gets hurt, the quarterback that took his place made faster decisions, saw the whole field, had more steam on the ball, and knew when to get rid of it, and hung in the pocket and was patient. I had said that, and then you came out with the tweet from Bears Barroom saying the same thing. Look at the patience on the video. That's what this guy's got, and I think we got a very good chance of making a good run, regardless of who our quarterback is, because at the end of the day, the defense was magnificent.
We got breaking news in here, and it's courtesy of Steven Zimmerman. He is saying that there are reports that Mitch Trubisky will be out 3 to 4 weeks, that he has a slight tear. It's a dislocation, a slight tear. No surgery will be required. So what do you think about that breaking news, Mike?
Well, I mean, we got a good quarterback to do the job while he's trying to heal. You don't know if that shoulder's going to bother him when he does come back periodically. He's starting to get hurt a little bit more frequently than we thought. He got hurt a little bit last year with the shoulder, was the other one, now this one. But here's the thing I want to tell everybody. He looked out of it when he was in the game anyway. And you know why he got hurt? Because he didn't secure the football.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, he's still sloppy.
Yeah.
And nobody's even talking about that. He doesn't get hurt if he doesn't fumble.
Very
I mean,
true.
they just slapped the ball out of his hands. So with Chase Daniel, I'm perfectly fine. I'd play the whole season with him. Here's the problem, and I want to see if this happens again. Remember Josh McCown, folks? Jay Cutler was hurt. Josh McCown got on a roll. We were in the playoff hunt. and there was a debate. And 75% of the moron media members in this town who cover the Bears and carried the Bears water agreed that Cutler should come back and shouldn't lose his job to injury. That was the end of our playoff hunt. I'm praying to God if we have 3-4 games in a row, I think we got Oakland next week, then we got a bye, and it looks like Mitch isn't going to be back after that. Let's say Chase Daniel wins 3 and 4 in a row. Are we bringing back Mitch?
That is going to be a huge question. Yes, it is.
To me, it's about winning. It's not about Coach Nagy and his cuteness with raising Mitch as a youngster. And it's not about that. Mm-hmm. Who are you winning with? Who is playing better? Who is making better decisions? And I understand Chase Daniel's never done much of anything. He's been a disappointment. But he was raised in this system.
Right.
This is his type of system. And maybe, you know what, just like Jim Plunkett, when he went from, the Patriots and the 49ers, where he couldn't get out of his way, to the Oakland Raiders. Or Steve Young with Tampa Bay, when he looked horrible, went to San Francisco. Maybe this is Chase Daniel's resurrection, if you will. I just want them to know the main thing isn't Mitch's feelings or anybody else's. It's about winning the division.
Well, this is what Matt Nagy said about Chase Daniel this morning on WBBM News Radio, and thank you to them for this clip.
Chase and I were together for 3 to 4 years in Kansas City, so I know Chase really well. We know each other well, and that's why he's here, is for times like this. And so we'll see where it goes and everything. But yesterday is a pure example as to why you want a guy like Chase Daniel on your team.
Mike, he was in complete control of that offense. It was like he was at the line of scrimmage, calling plays, pointing this way and so forth. And the other thing that was so impressive, he was so calm in the pocket. There wasn't that jitteriness and so forth. And by the way, I just want to, before I forget, Steven Zimmerman wanted me to credit, and he rightfully so. Adam Schefter was the one that first reported the Trubisky news. So kudos to Adam Schefter and to Zimmerman, who, by the way, sort of disagrees with you about Chase Daniel being the starter. He thinks that Trubisky, we shouldn't, even if we go 3 or 4 in a row wins, that we shouldn't discard Trubisky. That's going to be.
I'm not saying discard him, but these are the same. Look at these people want to win. Do you think that? Wait. Do you think the New York Giants, after 2 Super Bowls, gave a damn about Eli Manning's feelings? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how are things doing now?
Yep.
And you know what? According to what I'm hearing, Zim would stay with Manning until he had no hair left.
Right.
I said, Zim, I'm sure Zim loved Cutler. I didn't want Cutler. So I'll take my opinion and say that I saw this happen with my own eyes. The Bears brought Cutler back, and we crapped the bed. And we took the ball out of our hands. I'm not a guy that gets up after winning 3 or 4. Let's say he wins 4 straight games.
Right.
Would anybody get up after winning 4 hands of poker and say, let's play bridge?
Not me.
Because this is what I'm hearing again. I'm hearing from Bear fans. If we get off a string of wins, we got to bring Mitch back. We're not discarding Mitch. He's learning the position.
Right. You're saying play the hot hand.
That's all.
Right.
That's all. You don't hit 3 home runs and then after the game say, I want to play football. I'm quitting.
Well, I will tell you this, though. Chase, while he did an excellent job, the hot hand kind of ended in the first half, because in the second half, they failed to convert on many of the third downs, which is something they were doing in the first half. And so they put a lot of stress on this defense. And so now our attention should go to this defense, because they played tremendous football. And this is what Nagy said about the team defense.
Well, it was you want to talk about a dominant performance. Those guys on defense, I mean, everybody on defense just stepped their game up, and they all came to play. And it was a big challenge against one of the top 2 or 3 rush offenses in the league, and they stepped up and made plays. And so when you can shut down the run and make a team more one-dimensional and make them throw the ball when they want to run more, that's a benefit to us, and that's what our guys did yesterday. So many guys stepped up, and it was a fun win. I'm just really proud of them.
That he is so right about that. There were so many guys that had a big play or 2 or 3. There was a total great team effort by the defense, a depleted defense, but nonetheless they showed the NFL that they've got depth and it's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, Khalil Mack's got 4 sacks and 4 forced fumbles in 4 weeks. That's insanity. He's doing the same thing that he did last year. And what was I saying at the beginning of the year? They can't possibly match this, what they did last year, and that's exactly what they're doing. But this is my point. If we score 2 touchdowns in the first half like we did yesterday, and then we win every game 16-6, will we cry? I mean, I understand we didn't do nothing in the second half, and you know what? Let's give credit to Minnesota's defense. They did pretty well, too. But with this defense, all we need is a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday at the beginning of the game, our quarterback got hurt because of his mistake. So, you know what? We just got to get a field general that doesn't manage, because I thought Chase Daniel had pretty good stats for the amount of passes he threw, and I thought he had some big passes. And I think he'll have more reps this week. Just don't mess it up, because we're going to get set up on the short field. That's what I said. I said whoever has the most turnovers in this game is going to win it. Well, that was easy. This was an easy selection. I had this as one of my service plays on the web at Vegas Scores and Odds. The Bears were an easy pick for me.
Well, and I got to tell you, going into this game, I wasn't as sure as you were. And you know, I slapped my wrist, you know, being a diehard Bears fan. But I just got a little worried with all of the injuries and Mitch not playing great. But as people, by the way, you've created a firestorm in the chat room. Lots of opinions on Trubisky, lots of opinions on Chase Daniel and so forth. It's sort of going 50-50 with a lot of people agreeing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why people want Mitch. I understand that, because, you know, you'll think you're impeding his progress. But what progress? Look, there's no doubt when Teddy Bridgewater, who's done a great job for New Orleans, when Drew Brees is ready to come back, he's coming back because he's a Hall of Famer. When Mitch Trubisky is ready to come back, I don't know if he should come back as the number 1 guy, because Mitch Trubisky right now is one of those guys that is not, there's not much difference between him and Chase. I saw quicker decisions. That touchdown pass he threw to Tariq Cohen, I don't know if Mitch even sees that. That was his second checkoff.
And that's been Mitch's problem, is his progressions and finding.
His checkoff.
Yeah, that's right.
Mitch, Daniels went back, looked downfield, looked a little right, and then saw Tariq right there. And what did I say? Don't run Tariq Cohen up the middle. They tried a couple times. I don't know why they even bothered. Put him in space, and look how good he is.
There you go. This offensive line, Chicago Dave was complimenting the offensive line, and I got to get your comments on that, because this looked like a different offensive line than the one we have seen. Yes, they were not perfect, but they were playing a really dominant Vikings defense who have excellent players on their front seven, but they did a really nice job of giving Chase Daniel some clean pockets, didn't they?
What a great point, Aldo. Real good point. In fact, they blocked better for Chase Daniel than they do for Mitch. Now, Mitch moves a little bit around in the pocket, but I thought that they actually, Nagy brought up that the defense came to play. It seemed to me the offensive line, once, Mitch got hurt. And let's say it, it's a series. I'm glad that he's going to be back. Believe me. We don't want, Bray or anybody else. We want one or the other of these two guys. But I thought the offensive line really stepped it up, too, once Chase Daniel took over.
Yeah, you had, Steven in the chat room is pointing out, you had a third stringer, Rashard Coward, come in at right guard.
Great job.
And he excelled. So this was...
who's struggling? Kyle Long seems to be struggling.
Well, yeah. I mean, it looks like...
I just don't understand. I think maybe he's been banged up so much, or he's got his legs might be going on him.
Yeah.
But, yesterday, I mean, they looked okay, but when you watch the individual line play, Kyle Long seems to be the guy when he's in that is having the struggles right now.
Right. Well, he did not play yesterday because of a hip injury, and so you talk about going with a hot hand.
But that's why, he's so banged up.
Right.
But, I don't know how much longer he's going to be around.
I'm with you.
Because of injury. Don't you feel that?
I'm totally with you. Now, remember, they restructured his contract because he was due to make a lot of money this season, and the Bears basically told him, listen, if we don't restructure your contract and you accept less, we're going to let you go. That's the word on the street. So,
yeah, and here's another thing. Don't forget about that vicious fight in camp that most of the team didn't like what he did.
Exactly. He lost a lot of teammates in the locker room because of his behavior.
Restructuring your contract, you're filled with injuries, and you're fighting teammates, and most of the team is on the other guy's side.
It's a very good point. So, just like your philosophy with the quarterback, if Larson or Coward is playing better than Long, then Long is going to be on the bench when he comes back. Yes or no?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Anybody that is playing great football, let's say, look, there's going to be times great players struggle. You never replace great players. But I think the Bears have a lot of players, as we saw yesterday. You know what was gratifying about the Bears? The depth on defense. I mean, Baby Butkus, look what he did. I mean, my God. What's that guy's name? What's his name? Kwiatkowski?
Yeah, Nick Kwiatkowski. That's
whatever.
A tough one.
Baby Butkus and the rest of those guys. Where did they find these defensive linemen?
It's good scouting by the Bears.
Right?
Yeah.
They got some guy from Sanford that was just wreaking havoc on it. I forget his name. In the middle.
Stanford. Who are we talking about there?
Sanford, Samford is where he went to school.
Yeah,
maybe somebody could help us.
Yeah,
I think number 95.
Oh, you're talking about Roy Robertson Harrison? Because that guy was just phenomenal.
He's another beast. Who are these guys?
Yeah.
Where are they finding these people?
They showed great depth yesterday, and it's, like I said a few minutes ago, it is very scary. Now, let me bring up the Minnesota Vikings, because a lot of people picked the Vikings to beat the Bears at Soldier Field, and that was one frustrated team. Adam Thielen, the star wide receiver, was not happy with the way that offense is going, and its over-reliance, in his words, on the running game. This is what he said after the game.
Well, I think that's probably the most frustrating thing is we knew that was going to happen at some point. At some point, you're not going to be able to run the ball for 180 yards, even with the best running back in the NFL. And that's when you have to be able to throw the ball. You have to be able to make plays. You have to be able to hit the deep balls. You have to do that, because otherwise it's too easy for teams to just tee up and rush the quarterback. So we have to be able to run the ball and pass the ball. In this league, you cannot be one-dimensional. It's just too easy to defend.
And that is a one-dimensional team right now, at least. Now, last year, their passing game was excellent, with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen being two of the top 11 wide receivers in the NFL. But this year, none of those guys are even in the top 25 in terms of stats. And what about that pass early in the game? I think it was Thielen, or maybe it was Diggs, beats Kyle Fuller. It's wide open, and Cousins overthrows him. That could have been a complexion changer early in the game if they get off to a 7-0 lead with that touchdown, with what should have been a touchdown pass.
He's a Cutler type. He was supposed to be all that, and it's not happening. And basically the same amount of money, the same amount of years, same amount of attitude. I've heard that Zimmer would rather run every single time and rely on his defense. Well, guess what? That doesn't work, and I'm with Adam Thielen and the rest, Stephon Diggs, and these guys are good players, and they're 100-catch guys. I mean, Thielen is an all-pro.
Yeah.
And, to keep running the guy into a brick wall, I think it's a bad game plan, and I usually say to the players, hey, you're a receiver, you're a diva, but I think that they didn't open up the playbook against the Bears, and I think against the Bears' defense, to run against them is death. I think it's death. I think, look, if you got to pass every time, look, you're not going to win if you pass and don't run. I get that. You know how many times the quarterback from the Rams threw yesterday?
Oh, yes, I do, yes.
68 times, and they lost.
Oh, my gosh, that's unbelievable.
And they lost because you got to run the ball. You got to eat some clock. Are you kidding me? So I'm with them. I thought that they played into the Bears' hands. And by the way, I mean, our defensive coordinator. Things couldn't be better for him. He'll be a head coach in this league again in a year or two because he inherited what Vic Fangio inherited. And Vic Fangio right now is at the hardware store, I understand, looking for a chainsaw and some rope and an old car that he could drive off a cliff because there's a reason some guys never become head coaches. And I watched Denver yesterday, and I know why Vic Fangio is not a head coach or shouldn't be a head coach.
I know
because Vic Fangio has to make split decisions, and I saw a lot of mistakes yesterday.
Interesting. And I know how John Elway is. He won't tolerate a big losing season. He'll make a move with Vic Fangio after one season. So we'll.
It was, as I look back now, I mean, when a guy's been an assistant 30, 35 years, and all of a sudden, not that he was great with San Francisco. I'm not taking anything away from Vic, but some guys can only go to a certain point, and I think maybe, just maybe, and I'm not. Hey, you know me, I'm the last guy to say be an ageist, but I just think that Vic Fangio's still very, very old school. And I think that the next guy Elway hires, if this doesn't work out, will be a McVay type or Sean McDermott type, a younger type of coach.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend going on in the NFL, and Elway bucked.
Well, look at Nagy.
Yeah, exactly. Elway bucked that trend. Hey, I gotta share with you what Chicago Dave wrote in the chat room.
I love Chicago Dave.
He's awesome. And when you were talking about Kirk Cousins, he wrote, I live in D.C. and I've seen this bum play for years. Cousins gonna cousin.
You know what? Just like Cutler was going to Cutler. They're the same guys. They're the face of the franchises when they shouldn't have been. They come across as better than they are. When it comes to key moments in games, they throw it away. And you know what? I just saw so many similarities yesterday between him and Cutler. And you know what? If I was a player, I would not be inspired by him. I wouldn't. So maybe it's something, and it's been the play calling. They're not blaming Kirk Cousins. It seems like Thielen and them are blaming the coaches.
Yeah, I think that Mike Zimmer is on the hot seat at Minnesota. If they don't make the playoffs, I think Zimmer's reign there is going to come to an end. And he's a really good coach, but he just has not been able to put together a team that excels at all three phases. Sometimes, generally the defense is very good, but they have not put together a winning offense. And you also got to blame Rick Spielman to spend all of that money on Kirk Cousins when they should have kept the guy that was there before, the guy that's with the Redskins now.
Case Keenum's no bargain either. And Stephon Diggs is getting a lot of money too. They got a lot of money sunk into 2 or 3 players. I'm not a Spielman fan. I remember when he was here with the Bears. Yeah. Not a fan at all. I remember when he was at Miami. He's made the rounds, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of his, and you know what? I just think when you attack this Bear defense, and there's no such thing as attacking this defense, they're the ones that attack. I think you got to hit them with as many variations as you can. Yeah. Short passes, long passes, draw plays, pitch outs. You can't just have 2 or 3 plays in the playbook. Try to run your ball to victory against a team like this. Mm-hmm. They're too good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, you mentioned Sean McVay in that Rams game yesterday. Tampa Bay Bucks go to Los Angeles and post 55 points on the Rams. The Bucks were up 21-0 with 5:34 left in the first half when the Rams finally put some points on the board. They dominated, although the Rams did get back into the game. But after the game, the big topic, of course, was the lack of running by the Rams, and this is what Coach Sean McVay said about that topic and the fact that Todd Gurley only got, I think it was, he ran the ball 11 times. No, the Rams as a total ran it 11 times, and Gurley ran it only a half of that. Here's McVay.
No, there's none of that. We're just, we're doing what we can to try to find a way to win games, and it's not about conserving. We got to win. We got to win right now, and that's the most important thing. There's nothing like that.
What are you seeing then that's dissuading you from running the ball?
There's a lot of different things. Ultimately, it's our job to figure out what we think is the best way to move the football and score points, and that was what we decided on. That was what I decided on today.
Mike, there is a stubbornness by some of these young coaches who love to put the ball in the air and disregard the tried and true running to win football games. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, Aldo. Great call. Absolutely. I watched that game. Jameis Winston still throws stupid interceptions like he did in this game, and it gave him a chance to come back. But Jameis Winston, think about this. The two guys that were the darlings a few years ago, Mariota and Winston, were buried, left for dead. And then yesterday they both perk up, and all of a sudden they're back as viable quarterbacks, at least for a week. But I thought that the game plan was horrendous, yet look at all the points they put up. But you're right. He's like he's a young coach. You hear people call him a genius and all that and everything else, and they start to read into their own press clippings. This game looked to me, from what I was watching, that they thought probably during the week, we don't have to practice real hard. Play our game. Let's take it easy. Let's get out of there without any injuries. We'll beat these guys. And I think Tampa Bay was waiting for the ambush, and they got it, so congratulations to them.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout-out to Chris Godwin. I agree with you totally, by the way, about Jameis Winston. This was.
Go on the triple coverage. You're trying to win a ball game. You're
right,
up by 11.
Right.
And you just throw why are you throwing with 8 minutes left up by 11? Once again, stupid coaching and stupid execution.
I agree, and Bruce Arians is an old school coach for Tampa Bay, but he loves to throw that deep pass. But I do have to give him credit, because perhaps he is finally developing Jameis Winston into a better quarterback, because this was clearly his best performance of the season and maybe the best performance of his NFL career. Do you think there's any hope that Bruce Arians can turn Jameis Winston into a solid, fairly consistent NFL winning quarterback?
I think so. I think he can. I love Evans as a receiver. I think he's one of the top receivers in the league. The players around the league, from what I understand, respect the hell out of the guy. I think that, let Arians have a couple years with him. I think he can. He coached a great game yesterday, where the guy from the Rams coached, I think, a dreadful game. And you know what? You got to take those questions. You cannot throw the ball 68 times in a game. You can't. And I think what they thought was that they can, because Jameis Winston will bite him, and he bit him.
Yep, he sure did. All right, another game I want to talk about, which for me was a surprise, and you mentioned it earlier, the Jaguars going to Mile High and coming away with a 26-24 win. This was the locker room afterwards with Doug Marrone addressing the team. I thought this was pretty cool.
We're going to go on the road next week playing another good team in Carolina, okay? All right, so I want you guys to make sure you get your lift in, all right, before I see your sorry asses on Wednesday.
Players love that extra day off, right, Mike?
Yeah, and you know what? Usually when that happens, they lose the next week. I just don't like the extra day off, because you do what you're supposed to do, win.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get that. I'm not a fan of that. I would remember this conversation. I'll be curious to see what happens next week. But that being said, they might win, because they got a quarterback that is from the 70s.
Gardner Minshew, yeah.
Yes, I love the guy.
He's unbelievable.
Phoebe hadn't seen him, and we're watching highlights last night. I go, check this dude out. And then I went to the web. She goes, he looks like from that movie, what was it, North Dallas 40? I go, yeah, from like the 70s. The guy wears shorts up to his you-know-what.
Yes.
He doesn't wear the long shorts. He I think he plays Frisbee. Who does that anymore except Frisbee golf? I mean, stuff like that. So it's entertaining football. He brought them back from the dead.
Yep.
They were down.
Yep.
And Fournette, oh, my God, finally.
What a game.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey, to me, is the best all-purpose back in football. And I thought he should have won one of the Heismans, even the one that. But to me, I mean, because yesterday he had 100 yards catching and a bunch receiving, almost like 180 yards. But Fournette had 215 yards on the ground. It's about time. They've been waiting for that.
Yeah, indeed. Now, back to Gardner Minshew. Yes. Nick Foles, I think he's expected back sometime after their bye. So what are you going to do if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because now you've got a similar situation, except in this case, you got a young quarterback who was drafted in the 6th round, and then you've got a quarterback that you paid a lot of money for to bring him to the organization, Jacksonville. So what do? Do they go with a hot hand, or they go back with a proven Super Bowl winner in Nick Foles?
Well, that's the thing. Once again, Breeze, decorated. Foles, decorated.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Guys that get hurt
Right.
that have been to Super Bowls. Manning, decorated. Trubisky, not decorated. So this is the decision you got to make. You're paying him a lot of money. I think they still see Foles as their future. But, I mean, this guy here is unbelievable. He came out of nowhere, and here's what's going to happen. He'll make his money down the line. If he ends up sitting, which I think he'll end up doing, unless this Marone guy decides to go with the hot hand like I would go with.
Right.
But you know what? There are different circumstances on different teams. And, Foles is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He put himself on the line and got it done, and we'll just have to wait and see. That one is up in the air with me.
Yeah, I agree. That one is up in the air. Now,
That's a toughie.
This guy, Minshew, appears to me like he is the long-term answer for the Jaguars. But, and so maybe you look at trading Nick Foles. You probably can't trade him during the season as he's injured goods. But Minshew's got to be the quarterback you're thinking about for 2020 and beyond. So that's going to be an interesting choice by the Jaguars. They might have a great opportunity here to quickly turn their franchise around if the quarterback play from both of those guys continues to be at a high level.
And let's face it, I mean, Minshew's the story, and it makes for good copy. And who needs good copy? The Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville's the town that had the Super Bowl that should have never had a Super Bowl. They had to bring in cruise ships because they didn't have enough hotel rooms, for God's sake. They've been a laughing stock of the league.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Tom Coughlin is your president of operations over there. So, Coughlin seems to be a guy that likes the cement-footed quarterbacks. He made his bones with Manning. Foles isn't cement-footed, but he's close. Where Minshew is more of a variable. I think this is going to be a tough decision for Coughlin when it happens. This is one I can't make for him. I could stay with the hot hand for most. This one's going to be a toughie. But you're right. Minshew seems to be the guy that would be the future. But nobody thought he was going to be the future until he started playing.
Yep. Now, there's no quarterback controversy at New England, despite the fact that Tom Brady had one of his ugliest games ever. He was 18 of 39 for 150 yards and an interception. But the Patriots still came away with a really ugly but a tough earned win. This was Brady after the game. He was very soft-spoken and clearly not happy with his performance and perhaps the performance of some of his teammates. This is what he said after the game.
Yeah, they're really good. They got a good. Yeah, they're really good.
Let me set it up a little better. He's talking about the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, they're really good. They got a good defense. They're going to be in a lot of games. They're 3-0 for a reason. So to go on the road and beat a team that's 3-0 is pretty good. And we could certainly play better than we did. We got to get in the red area. We had some missed opportunities there. But we'll go out and try to do a better job next week. So.
You have no worries at all about Tom Brady, right?
No. Let me tell you something. Do you know the last 3 times they've been to Buffalo, he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass?
Really? Oh,
right.
Wow. I didn't know that.
This is stuff, Aldo. You think I'm messing around. You think I'm downstairs playing golden tea. You think I'm going to restaurants, going out for breakfast, playing golf. Well, I am, but I also managed to get this stuff in. How about this? Hey, Tom, that was a tough game. All Tom Brady has to say back is, I'm 33-3 against Buffalo.
That's right.
I mean, I just heard that stat today. That's insane.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Hey, tough game, huh? Yeah. How many times you beaten these guys? 33. How many times you play them? 36. Right?
He's got their number. Whether he
New
plays.
England owns them, but Tom Brady has trouble. In Buffalo, always has. This was one of my few losses yesterday. I had New England. As one of my few losses. I had a good week. I was the last 7 days. I'm 4-3. This was one of my losses. I had New England -7.
But I
lost by point.
I gotta tell you.
And what am I gonna say? And every time I bet against Brady, he rifles me. He just beats me like a drum. When I'm with him, he turns into a third stringer.
I don't understand why you would ever bet against a guy that you love so much, Tom Brady. I don't understand it. But,
I did, but I bet with them yesterday, and I lost.
Yeah.
So I'll give you. You know what? If I take, you know what? They should have won that game going away. He had a bad performance, but see, when was the last time when was the last time? Seriously. I mean, we don't follow other teams' quarterbacks that much, but everybody knows Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah.
When was the last time you heard anybody say he's had 2 bad games in a row?
Oh,
He's
my
never
goodness.
had him.
There was.
So I expect him to come out next week and just rifle the ball.
Yeah. There was 2 or 3 seasons ago, he got off to a slow start, and I was, tweeting out, I think Brady, it's over for Brady. He's 39 years old. Yeah, once again, I eat my words.
Some things are better left alone. I understand where you're coming from. I used to say in May, boy, the Yankees really suck this year, and then they'd win the East by 20 by the end of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's just certain teams you don't mess with. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Now, I want to ask you this question about the Patriots, because right now, statistically, they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, they are up there.
They have a great defense. I watched them yesterday.
Right. But they've played the Steelers, who are not the Steelers of old. They've played the Dolphins. They've played the Jets. They've played the Bills, who were with a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback.
That's what they do every year. It's their division.
I know. They've been
play
blessed.
in the easiest division ever invented.
It's unbelievable. And next week they've got the Redskins. That defense is going to annihilate whoever's going to be quarterbacking for them. They have been blessed in being in a great division for them, and also with a very soft schedule this season.
Well, yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. Nobody ever discussed this. I brought this up Friday night. What happens if New England would have been in the NFC? What happens if New England's in a different conference? What happens if New England's in a different division? They've been in basically the equivalent of a high school division. I mean, seriously, Buffalo, New York Jets, just bad football teams, and they've been able, and at that same time, because they beat other people, so it doesn't matter. They've been at their excellence, but see, there's guys sticking around with that team because they have good coaching and they have a great system and they play in an easy division. Now, when you say Pittsburgh's 0-3, who thought they were going to be that? Well, give New England credit for being one of the teams. Nobody knew Pittsburgh was going to be 0-3. Tonight they got Cincinnati. I don't know who's going to win that game. That's a combination, 2 teams 0-6, so we'll just have to wait and see, although Andy Dalton can't get out of his own way when he sees the black and gold. But I just think that New England has been blessed by being in that division. But the 85 Bears, in the 80s, where we should have won more than one Super Bowl, we played in a pansy division, too. Green Bay wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. Tampa Bay, we had the same type of situation.
Right. And you've got to take advantage. You've got to have that killer instinct and defeat those inferior teams. Got to share this with you in the chat room. It's Oil Pan Willie. He says,
I love Oil Pan Willie.
Well, and he loves you too, because check this out. He's working, pulling a tandem axle trailer behind a Ford F550, and yet he is still here in the chat room listening to you and interacting with other North fans. Isn't that cool?
It's always good. It's always good. The ride, you're pulling trailers, you're doing what you got to do. Oil Pan Willie getting it done. He's a frequent visitor to the chat room. We appreciate that. And by the way, all you guys should check out the front page today at Vegas Scores and Odds. I had a great week once again in all sports. I just had it done, 11-6, 12-6 week. You can check out the front page. Hockey's getting ready to go again. I'm on fire with that. The NFL is in full swing. We're going to have the wild card stuff and baseball coming up this week. So just check us out. Check out the free line. What's that free line, Aldo? Can you get that up there, my friend?
Absolutely. Let me call it up. Give me a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Vegas Scores and Odds, folks, is the place you go, or at VSAO Sports.
There you go.
Pass the word.
Yes, please pass the word. Yeah, when you go to VegasScoresandOdds.com, at the very top, you'll see a free phone number here, 1-866-504-2201. You will get a recorded message with a free winner. They have a free winner there daily on that. So go. I'm on the website right now, and it says.
How's it look, the front page?
A beautiful picture of you, by the way. And
isn't that something?
Yep.
That was me as a 9-year-old.
Yeah,
believe me.
You do look a little young.
It's all there, and plus, we're documented. The standings are there.
Yes.
If you're not up in the front 4, I've told people. See, I'm not a handicapper that hides. And by the way, tomorrow's Accountability Tuesday, which will be rather pleasant. I have a play tonight at Vegas Scores and Odds up at the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game, so check it out. Call the free line. We'll have something free. I mean, I gave away the Bears on the free line. I gave away the Bears on the free line, folks.
There you go,
Unbelievable.
people.
So check out that free line that Aldo gave you and have some fun.
Excellent. Now let's turn our attention to that Washington Redskins New York Giants game, because again, this young quarterback for the New York Giants, Daniel Jones, he just looked so good to begin the game. He had 2 touchdowns. He did throw a couple of picks later in the game, but he just looks like such a much better quarterback than Eli Manning. He looks like that high draft pick investment by the Giants is nothing to laugh at. He really had a good game. And then Saquon Barkley, they're saying he could be back quicker than expected. Excuse me. If this guy comes back this season, these Giants could potentially find themselves in the hunt for a wild card, or maybe, who knows, a division title. Am I out of my mind here, Mike?
I think you're overcome with emotion. I've been at wakes where they were more fluid because you're shocked. You know why you're shocked, Eldo? Because nobody gave him a chance. And why he's not going to do anything. He's not going to be any good. Let me tell you about Daniel Jones. First of all, if you get rid of preseason games, how would we know he was going to be this good? He was 29-35 in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So without preseason, how would you even know, number one? Number two, I knew this kid was a stud, period. And he is a stud. He's going to make his mistakes. But for instance, I've said this, there's no way in hell I would trade this kid for Mitch Trubisky. And you want to know something? The Giants would never offer it up. This kid's a special kid, tall, rangy, makes quick decisions, was coached well, and I watched him. He just gets the job done, and he oozes confidence.
He does.
That's what this kid does. And by the way, you could have gotten him at like 5,000 to 1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Well, guess what? He's the favorite now.
Yeah. Well, and not having the great debut like Jones was Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback, the first-round draft pick of the Redskins. He was inserted into the game. He threw 3 interceptions, but he still kind of commanded, in my opinion, the press room after the game. And this is what he said about how he felt and moving forward.
I want to win. We're going to win. Whatever it takes to win, we will do that. And I don't like losing. I never lost. Don't like losing. So we're going to change that. And we're going to win some games, and I'm going to be here for a while. So get used to seeing me smile up here.
Very, very confident. Now, I don't know how much of that game that you saw. Unfortunately, the confidence did not match the performance.
Yeah, the guy, he didn't look that good to me, but he looked like his debut. That's all. Well, just wait and see. I like his confidence. Let's hope he can back it up.
Yeah.
But you know what? Case Keenum's been horrible. He's been horrible. And you know what? Groon's going to lose his job, but Case Keenum, I mean, my God, making a lot of money. Made money at Minnesota. We were just talking about that. He is horrible. He really, really is. He's a journeyman quarterback that's been paid big bucks. And you know what? That's been a huge mistake. Not only with the Washington Redskins, but at other stops.
Yep, I'm with you there. Now, there is late-breaking news on Vontaze Burfict, the Oakland Raiders linebacker who delivered a really unbelievable helmet-to-helmet hit. And he didn't show any. He was throwing.
You mean the ones that were allowed 10 years ago?
That one, yeah, exactly.
I heard people talking this morning. I agree. Those were hits that were allowed. Now you're going to suspend the guy for the year because you changed the rules.
Mike,
hey, look, this guy's got 10 offenses. That's what's going to get him the rap sheet.
Right.
He's got too many offenses.
That's exactly right.
I don't think he gets the book thrown at him if he's only got 1 or 2.
Right.
He's been told. Period. And sooner or later you got to wake up. There was no reason for that. I know that. Look, 20 years ago, they used to stand the guy up and let a guy run into him.
Oh, my gosh.
Just a jar him. We've all seen that, and we loved it. It's out of football now. That's what they were doing. He came in, lowered his helmet. You know what? The punishment's very extreme, But sooner or later, if you're not getting the message, they've told him and told him and told him, Aldo.
Indeed. And this was John Gruden immediately after the game, and when he was asked about the hit and the fact that he was disqualified from the game. Now, again, he doesn't know that Burfict was suspended for the year, but this is what he said after the game.
You know, I know New York City pulled the ejection. So you'd have to ask New York, whoever is in the room that made that decision. I think it was penalized multiple times by multiple referees today. Nobody on the field in our stadium or in this zip code made the call to eject him. That came from New York City, so what can I do? I don't have a cell phone on the field.
You gotta love Gruden.
Yeah, and I had him yesterday, big, Oakland.
Oh, good one.
They played a real good game. Derek Carr unleashed. They play with attitude. I guess this kid's going to have he's got the book thrown at him, and it's a shame. But you know what? I've seen him do this before with the Bengals, where they had convicts playing on the field, it seemed like, for a while. And so, you can't argue it. I mean, they're stressing it. I think that there's still some calls that are against the quarterbacks, a lot of roughing the passers that aren't. But this one here is hard to deny.
Yeah, it really is. And John Runyon, who is the vice president of football operations for the NFL, his statement to Burfict that was released to the press, he wrote, "Following each of your previous rule violations, you were warned by me and each of the jointly appointed appeal officials that future violations would result in escalated accountability measures. However, you have continued to flagrantly abuse rules designated to protect yourself and your opponents from unnecessary risks." So there it is in black and white, why the NFL put that harsh penalty. You really can't argue with it with what we learned about, head injuries and all that stuff. You just have to abide by these rules, and it's the NFL players who are suing the NFL for some of these injury claims and so forth. So you got to protect the players from themselves. That's what it seems like.
Exactly. John Runyon, old Washington Redskins guy, number one, I believe.
A Philadelphia Eagle. Wasn't he a Philadelphia Eagle? Wasn't he an Eagle? A Philadelphia?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. He was an Eagle. I'm sorry. Oh, man, they'd be mad at me in Philadelphia. But, good ball player. And they warned him. And I read the accounts. I tried to be fair about this process. Is 16 is it extreme? Probably. But guess what? So are all the times that he's done it. So he's out to hurt people. And you know what? Sooner or later, you got to take the culprit off the field.
Yeah, the chat room is reminding us of the Burfict hit against Antonio Brown in that playoff game. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? And that was just one of the dirtiest.
That might have sent Antonio on his way to being a complete imbecile. He's picking fights with everybody on Twitter.
He is, and now he wants
he wants a piece of Baker Mayfield. He wants to slice him up in humble pie. I don't know what I can't even. I read his tweets and I feel like I'm in fairyland. I don't know what he's talking about.
He tweeted something about, because he's got a college class now. He tweeted something about he needed a proofreader for his paper, and the tweet was filled with misspellings. It was almost like a joke, but apparently the guy is a terrible speller, and his grammar.
I could have used him in one of my classes. Would have taken the heat off me. My God.
All right, a great week of NFL action. I want to talk to you about tonight's game. We've got a rivalry game. Those Steelers are facing the Bengals. What are your thoughts?
Did we address Roquan Smith yet?
Oh, we have not. Let's get to that before we talk Steelers.
Let's get to that real quick, because you know what? I gotta tell you, I'm concerned about the kid. I know there's been some false reports about accidents and everything else. I saw up on Twitter, I put it up, that there was a car accident, but then Jared Payton says he's got a very good source that says that had nothing to do with him. But you know what? Things are personal until they go public, okay?
Right.
When you're a player in the public eye, okay, when you're an entertainer, when you're a radio host, okay? For instance, if you get arrested, okay? I got arrested years ago. It got in the paper. Well, wait, it's personal, right?
Right.
No, when you're in the public eye, all right, the stuff that it's a personal thing will only go so far. Remember Lance Briggs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Sooner or later, it's going to get out. So what happens when you say something's personal, and and maybe it is, and good for him, and hope everything's okay. But when people say it's personal to shield something else, maybe, and then people start investigating, that's where rumors begin, Aldo. Like this car. You know what I mean? So I hope everything's okay, but there's something very wrong here. You know what I mean?
There is indeed, and in fact, at today's press conference, which happened while we were on the air on our live Mixlr.com channel, MIXLR.com. I hope everybody subscribes to Mixlr and join us in the chat room and interact with all the people that to come to Vegas Scores and Odds Advantage. At the press conference today, Nagy was bombarded with questions and kept going back to it's a personal thing. It's a personal thing. And he says, for us, it's something that we're going to leave it as it is right now. And
when Mike Ditka got arrested by the state trooper and was drunk out of his mind, that's a personal thing. According to what I'm reading, no, it wasn't. You're the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and you're a public entity, period. That's just the way it is. You're not some guy working at a plant. You're not some guy working in a flower shop. You're not some guy that is, or somebody that's working in an office building. So the personal crap goes only so far. If there's something truly wrong, it should be reported on. And to stiff-arm the press and for the press to capitulate, I'm sure they're doing their due diligence. But there's something wrong here. And what happens if there was a life at risk? Would you say, well, it's personal? Well, you've got to let the other person know. So Antonio Brown with the and I'm not saying that's what Rokine's involved in, but wasn't Antonio Brown's arrest sort of personal?
Oh yeah, I would.
What
say.
happened?
Yeah,
they got out. So I'm hoping it's nothing bad, but to miss a game, right?
Absolutely, and to potentially miss 2 games because Nagy did not offer an assurance that Roquan Smith would play in London against the Raiders on Sunday. So, and one of the things that he was asked was, aren't you afraid that by not giving us more information, you are going to make this a bigger story? And Nagy said, well, that's you guys. That's the media. That's social media. It is what it is. But no, I'm not worried about it. I think that he's wrong. I think I wish the Chicago Bears and their communications team would have.
He's a football coach. He has no idea.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't.
He doesn't have any idea. You don't. If you're going to leave people wondering, that's when things start getting out of hand. Mm-hmm. And I understand if it's a personal thing, if there's an illness, if there's a sickness. But if there was a car accident, if there was a crime committed, or something like that, that personal stuff only goes so far. Believe me, folks.
Indeed. All right, let's turn our attention to that game tonight, Monday Night Football.
How'd you like that little left turn, huh, Handsome?
Yeah, left turn, right turn. I love it. 0-3 Bengals, 0-3 Steelers. Is this game even going to be worth watching, Mike?
Oh, yeah, because I'll probably have something on it. But unless you see, this is where gambling and being involved with Vegas Scores and Odds, this is where the NFL wins. Because if there was no gambling allowed, I wouldn't probably most people wouldn't even turn the game on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Except the Pittsburgh fans and the Bengal fans. I will say this, Andy Dalton, when he sees black and gold, I think freaks out. I think just like, Brady has his troubles with the Buffalo Bills at Buffalo, to a certain point, he still beats them. Dalton has had his problems, and let's face it, since Dalton's been in the league until this year, Pittsburgh, for the most part, has been running that division.
Yep, that is true. And according to Sporting News, the point total is 45, and they've got a little trend here. The Steelers are 6-0 against the Bengals over the past 3 seasons, and only once, one of those games went over the expected point total. So those are usually defensive slugfests. I imagine that this is going to be a very similar type game with the young quarterback Mason Rudolph in there for the Steelers and that inconsistent Cincinnati Bengals offense. I got Cleveland on the mind because I forgot that we should probably pay a little attention to that Browns-Ravens game that happened yesterday. I was frankly shocked that the Browns beat the Ravens. What was your take on that game?
Well, I heard Rex Ryan unload on Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield went out and had a fabulous day.
That's right.
I mean, basically, I checked Rex Ryan's football record out yesterday. It's not very good. His head coaching record. Not bad in the postseason when he could get in. He just had trouble getting in. Baker Mayfield is going to bark back at you. That's just the way he is. I like his brashness. I love the way that he is. And he backed it up yesterday.
He did.
They played some pretty good defense. I love Myles Garrett. I love those the Browns yesterday. That was an easy pick for me. The Ravens, I think they're still a team in flux. Jackson did not have a good game, so it's going to be a week-to-week thing. I think John Harbaugh does a good job with them, but I give him credit. I give Mayfield and Cleveland credit yesterday.
Yeah, and what was even more impressive to me was that the Browns defense, with a secondary that was injury depleted, they had 3 of their 4 defensive backs, Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, and Morgan Burnett. Those are 3 high caliber players. They were held out of the game, and yet despite that, they played really good defense, held the Ravens to 25 points, and some of those points came late in the game. So we got that one out of the way. Now I
just want to say one thing before we go on. One of my favorite people in the whole world. If I ever have a son, I might name him Greedy. Greedy Williams, my name of the year in the National Football League. What an apropos name. I hope one day he holds out and they keep going, Greedy. And they'll go, why you call me Greedy? Because that's your name. My guy, Greedy Williams.
I love it.
Yep.
Rudy in the chat room asked a question. He wants to know from you, are the Detroit Lions for real? I mean, you got to take your hat off to their performance yesterday. In fact, I got a clip here from Matt Patricia, the head coach of the Detroit Lions. This is after the loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in what was a really exciting game. This is Patricia.
I'm really proud of this group. I think this is an extremely mentally tough team. I think they fight. I think they'll play. I think they'll go out and compete, and I'm proud of them for that. But we're obviously disappointed we didn't win the game. I think there's a lot of plays out there that we all wish we could have back. I know I got to coach better. I got to get the team ready to go. I got to get some of the details cleaned up, and we'll do that here as we push towards the bye week.
Mike, what do you think about this team? They're surprised the crap out of me. They're playing better.
Carmen DeFalco has been telling me for 3 weeks he doesn't believe in them. Carmen has. And you know what? I didn't know what to think. I thought they were playing good football. I've often said this, and I'll say it again. You saw what Dak Prescott did last night? I tell you right now, if the Dallas Cowboys had Matthew Stafford, they'd win the whole kit and caboodle. That's just my opinion. I just think he's a talented quarterback. But once again, he makes a bad mistake at the end. He gets in his own way sometimes, and there was a fumble. But I think they played him head up. I think they should have won the game.
Yep.
I thought that if you ask Mahomes, I think Mahomes is going to tell you, and Patrick Mahomes is so good, he's going to tell you maybe we stole this one. But Detroit, hey, look, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota's not out of anything yet, and the Bears, that's one tough division, folks.
It really is.
That's one tough division, and great. And I'm so happy that Green Bay lost because that division is turning out to be one of the tougher divisions, our division in the National Football League.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to watch. A lot of chatter in the chat room about Matt Patricia's beard, the pencil.
He's doing a good job. People make a joke about the guy. And, there's a lot of pasta being spewed. Paul Pasqualoni is their defensive coordinator. Patricia Pasqualoni. Are you kidding me? The olive oil's flowing.
That's right. And Patricia comes from that New England Patriots school of coaches, which has typically not had a lot of success, but maybe he's going to be the guy that's going to be the first big success from that Bill Belichick school of coaching.
Now, because there haven't been many, man.
No.
There haven't been many. It's sort of like, hit or miss, and most of the time it's been missed. But he's doing a good job so far. A lot of season left. But once again, I brought it up the other day to you. Can't believe 4 weeks is over.
Yeah, man. A quarter of the season done. We've got to enjoy each and every game because it goes by way too fast. Oh, and by the way, now the NFL is saying that they have abandoned their plans to negotiate for an 18-game regular season and instead they're going to try to negotiate for a 17-game regular season and then reduce the preseason to 2 or 3 games. And that, to me, makes a lot more sense than that other stupid proposal they had where 18 games and that the starters can rest for 2 games. That was the dumbest idea I ever heard. But
hard to believe that these guys actually make money in other ventures, isn't it? When you hear stuff like that, these owners.
Exactly.
I mean, really, seriously, it sounds like something that you'd say after you did like a quart of morphine. I mean, bottom line is that I like the 17 and I like the 2 preseason games. You got to have preseason, and you know what? If you're going to sit your starters anyway, play them in an extra regular season game. Although, here's what I'd like to see, Aldo. I think 16 games is great. I think if you play 17, they'll con the players into adding an extra wild card game, adding 2 more playoff games in each division, where they'll end up playing 19, 20, or 21 anyway. I'm happy with the 16, but I'd like to see them cut it down to 2 preseason.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of agreement in the chat room. Hey, I got
I love the chat room. Those people they're rolling.
Everybody is at work and is secretly listening to the show at work. I love it.
The damn show is great. They know that.
They know it.
This is the truth. You know what? This is the truth. Gandia, North, the truth.
I like that. The truth. Yeah. We need to also let people know that this show and all of the Vegas Scores and Odds Advantage shows is available on podcast about an hour after the live version, sometimes much less time. And so make sure everyone that's listening live, please share it on social media. Let your friends know about the show. Clearly, you like it. You like being here, and hopefully you can let your friends and family know that this is
the Monday
show.
Shows are doing great. The Wednesday shows are doing great. Then we put them up for Aldo puts them up for podcasts about an hour after the show, half hour after the show. Fantastic job that he does. Then we'll be live Wednesday in the studio. So we're rolling. This is our type of year, man. I mean, you got. Oh, and speaking of football and baseball.
Yes.
Baseball's coming too, folks. Vegas Scores and Odds.
Oh, unbelievable. I love it. I wasn't going to let you get out of here before talking about what happened with the Chicago Cubs.
You can't. I mean,
John
first
Maddon.
of all, I want to congratulate the Sox. I want to congratulate 2 guys. One, Bobby Abreu, not Bobby Abreu, Jose Abreu, who had the RBI, led the league in RBIs. And I also want to congratulate Tim Anderson for leading the league in batting average. And I just wanted to alert everybody in Chicago that it actually happened, that nobody knew about it. But, it's getting around. I mean, it's been very hush-hush because they've had a rotten year on the south side. And if they don't pick up pitching, they're going to have another rotten year. But congratulations to the players, and let's see what happens next year.
Yeah.
And the Cubs, Aldo?
Yes.
It had to be done.
Right. I agree with you.
If you have a restaurant, let's say you and I opened a restaurant.
Okay.
And the first year that you managed a restaurant, we won Restaurant of the Year. But then the year after, the service was a little tired.
Mm-hmm.
We were hung over from winning the award the year before. We didn't really push ourselves, so we didn't get it done. And then the next year, we weren't in the running for Restaurant of the Year. We were supposed to be, but for some reason it just didn't work out. And then the next year, we were supposed to be the Restaurant of the Year again. Really, for 5 years, we were supposed to be Restaurant of the Year, and we only won it the 1 year. And the final year, we didn't even make it into the competition because of bad service and bad food. Wouldn't you be gone?
Totally gone.
You'd be gone.
Absolutely.
And for Joe Maddon, who did everything at the start, to say he was happy and who wouldn't be, Joe, if you won the first year and you were a dirty diaper your next 4, I'm sorry. Nobody in Chicago. I love all these people crying crocodile tears for Joe Maddon. They're the same people that have been pushing him out. I have never seen such malaise over a guy. Because you know what? People are getting wrong, Aldo?
What?
They're just blaming the Cubs for him leaving. It was mutual.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Go ahead.
I'll give you a reason. Where are the Cubs going? They have Quintana, who's one of the worst starters in the league, according to ERA. Cole Hamels, who's added another year. John Lester, who's in the twilight of his career. They got rid of Jake Arrieta, which I said they would, and nobody's bringing him up. I said they'd regret. Okay, Hugh Darvish is the only stud that is a viable, we would have probably pitched him if they make the playoffs. They don't have a left fielder. Schwarber is a DH. They don't have a center fielder. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Joe Maddon knows the window's closing. It's better for him to go somewhere else and possibly within 5 years being in the World Series again with another team, because I don't think he sees it with this team.
But the reason I doubt that is because he was on the radio just a week ago talking about that he wanted to stay. And I think that he had this meeting. It was a very bizarre press conference that they had yesterday. Him and
Theo Epstein told him you didn't get it done probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And he probably told Theo Epstein, well, we had injuries, and guess what? You brought some of these players here, and it didn't work out. Look at Kimbrel.
Exactly. That's a huge part of the Cubs' woes is just some poor decision-making by player personnel people like Theo Epstein. So this is not all on Joe.
He's got to take the blame for this, too. There's no doubt, but he's the boss.
Yeah.
So you know what? I think he gets another fling with a new guy. But I want a manager that's going to have a set lineup, hopefully, that will not. I told everybody when he put Contreras in right, that was the beginning of the end.
Yep.
He lost the team after that. See, we don't know stuff that I think the front office knows, and I believe Rizzo with the crocodile tears. Joe was like a dad. A dad? You have a dad. He was like a dad. You have a dad. He should have been like a manager. But this goes into what you used to say. Coddled them. These guys rolled over the last 2-3 weeks. The biggest indictment on Joe Maddon was the last 2 weeks of the season. Last 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
They lost 9 in a row. And with a team that has one of the highest payrolls in baseball, and I just think he lost them. And I don't see a lot of uproar. Like when Ditka got fired, it was like there's still people. I'm still mad. When Ditka got fired, it was like for months, for years.
Yeah.
Even
it's
now. It's
not
not like that with Joe.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. They lose their final regular season game 9-0, and I think that's a metaphor for how this team gave up on their manager and just didn't give a crap anymore. And it's really sad.
Exactly right. I believe you this. They didn't fire him. They just didn't renew his contract.
Correct.
That's all.
Correct.
Joe, go. You did good. You got us a World Series. You won 90 games. But Joe Maddon's not. Joe Maddon, let me tell you something. There's been managers like Yogi Berra, Casey Stengel that were fired after they got into the World Series. So I don't want to hear the crocodile tears for a team that has underperformed. Period.
I am with you. Now, one of the funny things is that they...
Isn't it funny Rick Renteria is the guy that's safe?
Yeah, that is safe. Well, what happens? Do you think the White Sox will talk to Joe Maddon?
No, because then Kenny Williams would have to butt out. And so would Jerry. Joe Maddon should run his own show. He's earned that. Jerry Reinsdorf and the meddling White Sox, they need a puppet like Rick Renteria downstairs.
Did you get that? And you're still like, and you're still.
I think that attitude of yours has really sparked some things. But I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I think Joe wanted to change the scenery too. I didn't see Joe come out and fight for his job.
Right.
Like, he said 3 weeks ago he thought he might be back. But you know what? That was a week before 2 weeks of the worst Cubs baseball I've seen in my whole life. Yes. So, you know what? I think he wanted out, too. I don't see Joe crying crocodile tears. There's rumors that Ausmus may be out. How about if he goes to the World Series with the Angels eventually with Mike Trout? See, I think Joe sees this team, and he sees a lot of holes. A lot now. An older ball club that sees the door. I think the window's closing. Maybe a new manager gives him a spark. But, man, there was a lot of disappointments. And, boy, it sure doesn't help when you're reading certain players. Who's the kid in Kansas City that used to play? Soler?
Yeah, Jorge Soler. Yes, awful.
A home run king.
Yes, exactly. They made such
terrible moves. And then we go out
moves.
and spend $173 million on Hayward.
Which
got us a pennant. So you know what? Congratulations to Joe. But Joe, I've never seen such malaise over a guy. I thought a Cub manager would have. I thought O'Hare Airport would be named after the Cub manager that led the team to the World Series. Joe Maddon Airport. You know, the Sears Tower, Joe Maddon Tower. Didn't you think if a Cub manager won the World Series that he'd be probably... I mean, I heard Lester say he's legendary, and I said no. Michael Jordan and Ditka are legendary.
Thank you. Thank
Joe
you.
Maddon's not legendary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, he might have blown that World Series with those decisions in Game 7 if it wasn't for that rain delay and the players having a players-only meeting during the delay and sparking things up for themselves. I think that you may be 100% correct in that Joe Maddon looked at his team and said, these guys don't want to play for me anymore, and I don't think that they're that good at it.
Not only that, he looks at, okay, Rizzo's at first. Zobrist should go, be retired.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Addison Russell problems. Baez will be back. Bryant, injured every year. Schwarber, he has no left fielder. I mean, you know why the Cubs lost on the road? You got Elmore in center and Schwarber in left, and you're playing in bigger ballparks?
Right.
And you're wondering why you can't win games on the road?
Yep.
Their outfield is anemic, except for Hayward. Their right side was good. I mean, I thought their infield stuff was good. I like Contreras, but their pitching staff's going to be a year older. I mean, is Lester going to come back all of a sudden and find the fountain of youth? I don't think so. I just see a lot of what Joe Maddon sees. Get me out of here. That's what it sounded like to me. I'm willing to go. I'll take a hit. Bye-bye.
I've got a prediction on who the Cubs are going to hire to replace Joe Maddon. I think they're going to go inside the organization, just like the Cardinals did with their hire of their manager and tab Kevin Youkilis, who is 40 years old, has spent the last 5 seasons as a special assistant with the Cubs, watching draft prospects, evaluating their hitters, and communicating with the major league hitters and so forth. And he's cheap. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, but they're not worried about that because they paid you. I'll ride with you on Youkilis, though. I'd like to see somebody young, somebody who's got a temper, somebody that is not going to be, you know, I don't want to see nobody. I'm tired of the dressing up like giraffes, walking around the airport.
Yes,
you know,
thank you, thank you.
You know, you're grown ass men. You know, I don't want to hear Youkilis referred to as like a dad. You know, I don't.
I agree.
You know, I mean, to me, that tells you the problem right there. So you know what? I like your pick. I hope it happens. But if they grab somebody else like Girardi or somebody else like that, Girardi would be great. Girardi likes set lineups. He likes guys in position. He likes control. He's been under the big lights of New York. He's led them to a World Series. Come on.
Yeah, it almost seems like destiny that Girardi would come back to Chicago and manage his team. And if it's going to happen, now is the perfect situation for it to happen, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it's going to happen. And you know what? He's got connections. And you know what? Don't forget, you know, the Ricketts were fans before they were owners. And I'm sure they like Joe Girardi, but I'm sure they're going to look at other things. And by the way, Theo Epstein, I don't know, can a Boston Red Sox and New York Yankee work together? I don't know. I don't know if Theo likes or is a Girardi guy. I would guess maybe. I'm sure they'll interview him. I can't think of too many other people I'd like to see interviewed for the job. And I think Joe Maddon's going to go somewhere else. I prefer he goes to the American League, but if he goes to the National League with the Phillies or something, good luck.
Yeah, Chicago Dave in the chat room reminds us that Youkilis has that Boston Red Sox blood as Theo does, and so that makes him even a more likely choice because that's what he was thinking. He was thinking yesterday that would be a likely candidate for the Cubs job.
We wish Joe nothing but the best. I just thought they'd dominate for 5 to 7 to 10 years, and it didn't happen. They're not in the playoffs with this team.
No,
think about that.
That's right.
Look at the players. Read the roster tonight. Read each player. Now, whether they're injured or read each player. And then tell yourself, how did they not get into the playoffs? Ask yourself that. Because Yelich got hurt, and Milwaukee's in the playoffs.
Yes.
The Nationals were 12 games under 500. And then they came back and won. They kept playing hard. I didn't see that from the Cubs. I saw a lot of Cadillacing into second base this year. No digging except for a couple different games. I didn't see a whole lot of heart. I didn't.
I agree.
Especially the last month, it seemed like they gave up. And when they gave up not only on the team, but on the fans and on the boss.
I agree. I mean, you look at the rotation of John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, Quintana, Yu Darvish, Cole Hamels.
Come on.
On paper, you should be kicking butt, easily winning 100 games, in my opinion.
Never found a leadoff man. Never found a leadoff man. This year, Schwarber was killing the ball, batting sixth, moves him up to the leadoff position. The next night, he goes 0 for 4.
Right.
Did stupid things with the lineup. Played Contreras in right, Bryant in left. Played Zobrist one day in second. The next day, he'd be in right. Hayward to center. I mean, my God, Baez at second. Then Russell to short. Never had a set lineup, and I think sooner or later, you can't keep gimmicking it. And he may have had to do that with Tampa, but I don't think he ever fully realized what he had here. And when they came back the next year after winning the World Series and said, we're hungover from the win and tired, I put that on Maddon. It's the attitude of the manager that should set the thing, but he was too cool for the room.
Yep, I'm with you there. And I got to also say that Kyle Schwarber, to me, is going to be the key player in the offseason. This guy ends up the season with 38 home runs, 92 RBIs. He has got to be the biggest trade bait on this team right now. And so they should be able to get some really good players in return. Now, before I let you go, do you think that this team should completely blow things up and start a rebuild? Or do you think that they should, keep the main pieces and try to win a title in 2020?
All right, I shop Schwarber, Almora, gone. Keep Hayward.
Castellanos, keep him, right?
Keep Castellanos if you can sign him.
Yep.
Rizzo, keep him. Zobrist is gone. I think he's done. Or maybe you bring him back for another year.
What about Addison? What about Addison Russell?
I like him, but I know there's extenuating circumstances and stuff like that. So, there's other things I don't know about. If he stayed with the team, it wouldn't bother me. Bryant's got to grow up and gut it up. And I understand the guy plays. It's funny. The guy plays a ton of games, but in this day and age, where everybody hit 30 home runs this year, I mean, like Harper hit 31 home runs. I'm not impressed. Okay? Bryce Harper went from Washington to Philadelphia. Washington's going to the playoffs, and Washington beat Philadelphia 14 out of 19 games with Bryce Harper, who left them. They became better without him. Sometimes you become better without people. So, we'll see what happens. But I'd worry about their pitching staff. I think they may have another year left in them, but get a new manager in there. And do you agree? I don't know what Arrieta's done lately. I don't care. When they got rid of Arrieta, that was the beginning of the end. We're getting rid of our macho man. Who knows if that contributed? But they started to lose pieces. Dexter Fowler. They never found a leadoff man after Dexter Fowler, did they?
Nope, they did not, and that hurt this team immensely.
Sure it did.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. What great stuff. We have gone over.
Man, we went on an hour and 20. I almost feel like I work for a living. Are you kidding me? This is fun.
This is
all fun stuff. We wish Joe Maddon nothing but the best. We wish Roquan Smith hopefully everything's okay. Good for the Bears. I mean, basically, you know what? The Cubs got to come back next year. The White Sox got to see if they can build. I mean, really, it's been a hodgepodge of great stuff this past week.
It really was. And when we started the show, you told me we got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a great show.
I told you we're going to go over an hour. This is easy. This is a dream come true. And, a Monday after the NFL, and then on top of that, this almost equals. There was a day I appeared at Jordan's with Jiggets the day after Jordan retired from basketball. How about that?
Oh, wow.
Also, Jim Lefebvre got fired that same day from the Chicago Cubs, and the White Sox were in the playoffs. That was a good day.
Yeah, how about that?
That was a crazy day.
Momentous.
Jordan, the guy ain't even playing basketball for us anymore.
That's amazing. All right, I want to tell people that this show will be up in podcast in about 20 minutes. Please, those of you in the live chat, let your friends know, and go over to VegasScoresAndOdds.com. The recorded message phone number is 1-866-504-2201. Give them a call. You're going to get a free winner daily. So give them a call, and of course, make sure you listen to Mike on Wednesday at 3 p.m. live here on Mixler. He's got 3 free picks for you. Where else are you going to get 3 free picks?
We're 7-5 with the picks, and I'll tell you what. Make sure you follow at Aldo Gandia at North to North NORTH number 2 NORTH at VSAO Sports. Let's get to 600 people. Bears Bar Room. Let's get to 10,000 people. Everybody's in the race to get to certain things. We got a goal, and that was one of our goals. Please help us spread the word about Bears Bar Room. It's the best when it comes to chat boards, when it comes to shows, when it comes to basically talking Bears football.
Mike, I love the baseball talk today, so why don't you give us your famous Harry Carey sign-off?
On behalf of my good friend Alfred Gandia and all the great friends that I have accumulated, not only at Pete Von Aken and the Peoria Chief, so long, everybody!